All right, we are live and we are going to talk about how we can get you more listings. You know, that's what our mission really is. Preserve Floyd's legacy, but his legacy was always about helping you hit your goal. And so that's what we at Floyd Bickman team are committed to doing. That's why we are offering this agent webinar, just to refresh and remind and inspire and teach. And today's topic of the 12 dialogues that you got to master to really succeed in this business is the dialogue for landing the appointment. You know, if you've been in my audiences, you've heard me say many times that while staging is a great thing, it's great to have your property staged. It really helps saleability. It helps your seller get more money. And at the same time, I just never want one of my people, I never want you to not get a listing because you're waiting to stage it. Because sometimes staging takes a little while, right? So I want you to make a decision today while you're listening to all this, that you're going to get the signature right away, like while you're sitting there. Now, some of you have paperwork that you can complete. I'm saying paperwork, but we know it's electronic paperwork, which is a little bit of an oxymoron, right? Like postal service. I always think of that joke that Floyd Wickman used to tell about waiting in line at the post office, and the people behind the counter are crabby and they're yelling at people and saying, get over there if you need that help. And all the while that's going on, there's a gentleman who's standing up on a ladder, hanging up a banner that says Customer Appreciation Week. And so when it's his friend's turn to talk to the clerk, he said, can't help but notice how everyone seems kind of crabby. And here it is, Customer Appreciation Week. And she said, that's not till next week. So I want you to be able to say, we're going to start now with this commitment to our sellers, that we have a philosophy, a way of thinking that if we don't get the signature now, then we're putting those clients at risk, that seller at risk. They're at the risk of, because they're not committed to you, not financially, what do I want to say, in a contract manner, because they haven't signed a contract, they could end up finding their own buyer. Someone knocks on their door and says, we'll buy it. We'll pay you full price. Is that the right buyer? What if those people drag their feet and then walk away the day before the closing? What if those people negotiate a lower price than what you could have gotten for them? What if they end up falling in with an agent who doesn't put the client's goal first? That'd be a tragedy, wouldn't it? So when we're closing for that signature tonight, it's not so that I can make lots of money. It's because I know I'll make lots of money when I put my clients' needs first. It's putting them first so they don't fall prone to something that affects their bottom line. And some of you have forms, I think I was beginning to say that, where you could list it tonight, post date the listing, or list it tonight and have it withdrawn from the market, withheld. You have a withheld form, you have a coming soon form. Different areas have different types of tools that we can use so we can land the listing tonight, but it doesn't go active until later. Now, I'm not talking about paying fees for putting it in late, because that wouldn't be right. We got clear cooperation. And I want you to follow all the rules as they completely change and morph around you. But, there's probably a way that you can get that signature tonight using the correct forms so that they're committed to you. Maybe the seller asks that no showings be held. I'm listing tonight, but no showings to be held until the carpet and paint is done. And I know some of you are going to say, but that adds to the days on market. Get over it. You're protecting the seller. All right. Well, anyway, we don't have to agree on everything. It's okay for me to have an opinion that's a little bit different than yours. So I want you to open up your mind. I want you to get more listings. And that means helping more sellers. So let's think about getting the signature. And what's one of the most common reasons we don't get a signature other than staging, or they stall? They stall us. They say to us, well, we're going to wait. We're going to wait until after spring, summer, fall, winter. We're going to wait until after Christmas, New Year's, Super Bowl, Easter, Hanukkah, right? They've got all these events till after Bob retires, till after Ruth Ann graduates. There's reasons that they think they want to wait. So and rates come down. We want to wait till rates come down, or we want to wait to fix it up. I made a list. So I want you to be prepared for all of those. When we finish our time together, I want you to feel empowered so that the very next time you hear that, you go, oh, I know exactly what to do. You see, handling we want to wait for whatever the reason is going to be career long. The reasons might change a little bit, but for all of the time that you are in real estate sales, people that you meet with will say, oh, I'm not sure this is the right time. I think we're going to hold off just a little bit until whatever. Okay. So would you please wrap your mind around the fact that this is your job description? You can't go, oh, geez, I wish I had paid more attention in that webinar I took. Oh, okay. Floyd says, make sure you close, right? So, are you sure? Yeah, we're sure. Okay, that's pretty weak. So let's get strong. Let's get strong today. Let's get committed that this isn't going to rattle our bones anymore, that this is part of the deal for the rest of my career. They're going to want to wait. And by the way, sometimes when they want to wait, we just wait. They're going to build. Got to get the excavator out there. Got to finalize the plans. We've owned the lot for 10 years and they still haven't built on it. Some people are very, very slow to make decisions. And then you need a good follow-up plan, and you need to be touching them, and you need to go out to the lot to see if the excavator's even been there. You need to text them. You need to think about them, love on them, keep the relationship deep. But sometimes, many times, you can overcome the hesitation. And that's what we're really here to do. So let's get this party started. The first thing I want to tell you about overcoming we want to wait is that it begins before they say it. It begins at the beginning of the appointment when you are a listener. If you've been to a Wickman program, if you've listened to us, first thing you do is ring the doorbell, smile, pay him a compliment, take him to the kitchen table, break the ice, and then do your polka. And in your polka, you give them an overview of what it is that you're going to accomplish. By the way, if you don't know this stuff, we can teach it to you. There's all kinds of ways that we can do that. The very first step then of the polka, after you've said the polka, the very first step is to sit down and ask the seller a list of questions. Now, we've, I think, already covered what those questions should be and how you listen and probe. But today, my mission is that you have a list of questions, pre-planned questions that you bring to every listing appointment. And you ask those questions, and you don't just go, question number 1. Okay, thank you very much. Question number 2. Okay, thank you very much. You're going to ask the question, and then you probe, and you listen, and you say, thank you, Bert. I think I understand that. You mentioned it over the phone. Mary Ellen, are you feeling sort of the same way? So you're getting, if you have more than one seller, if you have 8 in an estate or something, you're getting everybody's opinion. You're listening and probing. You're questioning the answer. You're feeding it back to them to see if you really understand. And one of those questions is about timing. When are you thinking of moving? Well, we don't think this market is the right market. I mean, we want to know what it's worth and everything, but, we probably sometime next year, we'll probably wait until rates come down a little bit. Sometimes I can discover what the hesitation is before I do my presentation. And when is the best time to discover the hesitation? Before they throw it at you, before the appointment, during the appointment, or at the end of the appointment. The beginning, the earlier you find out what they're going to say later, the more time you have to think about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it and what you can show them that will change their feelings, because most of this is pretty emotional, not always real logical. All right. So if I can get them to reveal that they're thinking of waiting right up front, then all the while I'm there with them at this listing presentation, I have an opportunity to say, oh boy, here's another reason that this is a really good market. Now, we don't know what's ahead, but are you with me? So sometimes when you are able to do that during the entire presentation, then when you get to the end of the presentation and you ask for that signature, they give it to you. You have handled it along the way and they no longer have the hesitation. All right. But the only way that works is if you find out in advance. Are you with me on this? I'm hoping that this makes some sense to you. All right. Now, let's pretend that you don't find out up front, that it seems like everything is going to be moving forward, and then they get cold feet or they get scared or they come up with some kind of reason at the end, or maybe they just trust you more and they reveal why they really are going to wait. You know, if you've been in class with me, you probably heard me talk about Garth. I'm not remembering his wife's name, but I went over there to list the house and they ended up not signing and not moving. They liked me. They said, oh, we'll list with you. I followed up. They got my newsletter and all of that jazz. And 2 years later, I was sitting back at that same kitchen table and they said, yeah, I think we're really going to do it this time. And we got all the way to the end of the appointment. And Garth stood up kind of abruptly. And he said, I just can't do this. And he ran off. And he went down in the basement. So I sat with her at the table. We were in the dining room. I sat with her at the dining room table for a little bit. And finally, she said, well, I'll see if he's calmed down. We're definitely going to sell the house, Mare. And so she was gone maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And when she came back, she said, he's crying. He loves this house. And I'm really sorry to have wasted your time today. Pam, that was her name, Garth and Pam. I'll never forget well, first of all, mostly, it's women that we tend to think of that cry, right? So theirs is a little stereotype in my little brain. But what I'm saying to you is things can be rolling along and then change because of the emotion. This is a hard decision for people sometimes. So, we just love them through that. I think that's what Floyd taught me is always put them first, love them through it. That's the first thing I wanted to say. All right, because the last thing we want to do is put pressure on them. That's not where the love is, right? So we're not hard sell here. Now, let's say that it is the end. It is that appointment where they say, well, we thought the more we think about this, the more we really think we should wait until let's just say it's the rates come down. Well, what did Floyd teach us about handling hesitations? Well, I get it. I mean, I understand why you're thinking of waiting till the rates come down. I mean, you got a 3% mortgage on your house, and I can see where, you're looking at double. That might make you pause. Okay, now, am I really caving? Am I going to say, okay, so I'll go home and let me know when the rates, or I'll let you know when the rates come, right? Am I going to do that? No. So Floyd teaches us this 5-step track, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it starts with don't argue with them. And so, that's my word. It doesn't matter what the words you use are not as important as what you accomplish. So what you got to accomplish here is they've got to lower their defenses. They got to feel like you're not going to argue with them. So did you notice that I talk fast? I'm really sorry. I talk fast and I know the dialogue. So you know what my problem would be? I'm going to talk too fast. I'm going to talk too much. I'm going to say, oh, let me show you something. And I'm going to change your mind. And that's not the way it works. Floyd taught me to slow down, to listen. So I listened at the front end in that client qualifier when I was probing, I was trying to listen to their situation. And now I'm at the back end of that listing appointment. And when they throw that hesitation, what's the first thing I did? Did you see me do it? Because I can hear the train coming round the bend, right? I know there's an objection coming. It usually starts like this. Well, Mary, we're really impressed with everything you've shown us so far today. And we like you. Oh boy, here it comes. So what does my head start doing? It's like I'm one of those little bobble dolls, right? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to nod. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And then when they're done talking, because I am a fast person, I'm going to breathe. Well, I get it. I really do. Now, Floyd uses the words, I can appreciate how you feel. Floyd uses the words, you must have a good reason for feeling that way. That's fine. You be you. You say the words. What were my words? Yeah, I get it, man. I really do. Now you be you, okay? But that's step one. Step two is you got to get them talking. You got to ask questions now so that they talk. They just threw the gauntlet, and now you got to get them to let go of the gauntlet. They put it down in the ground. Now you got to get them to unclench their hands, right? So how do you do that? You probe. So you might say, okay, so what interest rate do you currently have on the house now? How long ago did you get that? So you refinanced then. In what year was that? If you've already talked about it, say, remind me when you did that. So how many years are left on that? By the way, what bank did you use? It doesn't even matter what the questions. Oh, look at her. Isn't she? How old is she? Right? It doesn't even matter what the questions are. What we're doing is we're taking their eye off that ball. We're getting them to think about something a little bit different, kind of sideways angle there for a moment. Now, it can be that the questions are all about what they just said. When are you thinking would be the right time? What would the rates have to do by then? And how long are you willing to wait for that to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Where do you get your news? So now listen, I didn't write any of those questions down. I'm pretty good, huh? I'm just trained. Floyd trained me to think open-ended questions, right? Who, what, where, when, why? Shape your mouth like a W. Why do you think the rates are going to come down? Where do you get your news? Which mortgage company do you use? Who, what, where, when, why, how, right? So probe a little bit about this. And then step three, that was step two. Step one, don't argue. Step two, probe a little bit. Step three is where you isolate. In other words, that's where you say, well, is there anything else preventing you from going ahead? I mean, other than the rates might go down, you're waiting for the rates to go down. Is there anything else causing you to push pause? Oh, no, it's just that, Okay, great. So let me do this. And here's step four. Step four starts with the sharp angle close. And, I recommend you writing this down. I hope you are. And unless this is a huge refresher for you, you should be writing things down. And by the way, getting it into your brain and making it stick there, sometimes holding a pen or pencil helps you to do that. Sharp angle question. Floyd taught us a sharp angle question is, if you knew, would you? Or if I could show you, would you? So let's do one of those. If you knew that waiting for the rates to come down would end up costing you money instead of saving you money, would you still wait? Well, how would I know that? When I ask that sharp angle question, I got to get an answer. So what I have to do if they didn't answer, because, how are you going to show me that? Well, if that's not the answer I wanted a yes. If I knew it was going to cost me money to wait, I would not wait, right? That's what I want them to say, but they didn't say that. So then I have to ask again. And this is not being pushy, okay? It's all in the facial expression. It's in the voice inflection. It's how you ask the question. So let's rewind that. I don't know if I can say it exactly word for word because it's not memorized. It just comes bubbling right up. I'm trained. You are being trained. You're going to get just this good. So it was sharp angle. If you knew that waiting till the rates come down, you'd end up actually costing yourself money. Would you be willing to go ahead and get the ball rolling tonight? Well, but I don't know that. How could you prove that? Well, I don't know if I can prove it. I guess what I'm asking you is, here it comes again, I'm repeating myself. I guess what I'm asking you is, if you could look at the dollar amount that you'd get right now, here's how much you would get if you moved right now. And here's how much you would get if you waited to move till the rates came down. If it was clear that moving now was better for you financially than moving later, would you move now? Well, Mary, how can it be better for us to have a 6.5 interest rate compared to the 3% we're waiting for? Right. That's the question, isn't it? How can it be better? And I guess my question is, if it was better for you financially, would you do it now? What do you think they're going to say? Well, of course we would do it now. All right. Well, then let me show you something that I think will prevent you from making a mistake. So the sharp angle question is the pivot moment, the gate, the imperative thing. You got to get them to say, well, if I knew that, well, sure. Listen, if you knew that waiting till after your daughter graduates in the backyard next summer was the worst thing you could do, and that it would be better for you to go ahead and move now than to wait, would you have to wait? Well, I mean, we wouldn't have to wait. We just would like to have the party in the backyard. All right, I understand. So what if you knew it was going to cost you a bunch of money to wait? Would you throw the money out the window, or would you want to hold on to it? Well, we'd want to hold on to it. Okay. So if I could show you how you could get more money moving now rather than waiting, then you'd go ahead. Okay. Well, then let me show you something that I think will prevent you from making a mistake. My nose is itching. Sorry. So what does that mean? So you got to ask that sharp angle question and get them to say the answer the way you want them to. Otherwise, you got to go back and ask it again. And sometimes you got to go all the way back to step one and don't argue, probe, isolate to see if there's anything else, and then sharp angle again. Sometimes you got to go all the way back. See, I think sometimes, I hope I can make this so clear to you. You know, we got these tools that Floyd gave us, and they're great tools. But, let's say it's a hammer. I got this hammer, right? And I'm looking around for something to pound on. And sometimes I pull the hammer out too soon. I think these tools that Floyd gave us, they're great. But sometimes we take them out and show them, and then we're wondering, well, why didn't my tool work? Well, because you forgot that the tool is part 4, step 4. So you start with don't argue, then you go to open. Then you go to, is there anything else preventing you from going ahead? Then you go to sharp angle question. If you knew, would you? That's when they say yes. That's when you take out your hammer. I hope I'm not being redundant. I'm really trying to make sure you get this, and I can't see your face. So I don't know if you're going, I know, I got it. Or if my really being a teacher here, maybe you heard something in that for the first time ever. There's a process to handling this hesitation. And you got to start with step 1 if you want it to work. All right, so now what are you going to show them? We're going to talk about that in a minute. And then once you show them that hammer, that tool, that objection handler, that hesitation handler, you show it to them, and then you do step 5. So if you're writing this down, step 5 is you assume it worked. You assumed I'm a rock star. Of course, I've changed your mind, right? You assume that whatever you just showed them caused them to say, all right, we should list. You don't say, did I change your mind? Did I change your mind? You assume. Assume and resume. Write that down. Assume and resume. So you resume wherever you were before. Let's say you were showing them a net sheet and they said, well, we're just not ready. The more I think about this, the more, right? Well, then I would go right back to my net sheet. Let's say I had my listing contract out and I was working on filling in the dates and they said, oh, we're not going to do it. Well, now I go right back to that same spot and I say, now today is, and I write in that date. So I'm assuming they changed their mind. And by the way, if they did not change their mind, they will tell you. That's for sure. All right, we're going to do the second half of step 4 now. We started with the first half, the sharp angle, and you can create your sharp angle based on the tool that you have in your toolbox. By the way, that's your briefcase or your backpack or your folder, your computer. One of the things that Floyd taught us is that a great salesperson never tells someone something she can show them. So I'm not going to just talk about whatever it is that I want them to do. I want them to see something. I want to show them something. So now that you have that awareness, that radar, that, oh my gosh, I've got to prove, I've got to show them, then I want you to start collecting newspaper articles. I don't mean newspaper paper. I mean, articles that you read and see. I want you to collect that. Maybe you print them out and then you take a yellow highlighter and you highlight the phrases. And if you do that for the rest of your career and keep those refreshed, you'll always have the most current thinking, financial thinking, the most current, interest rates and things like that are going to help you to land that listing today. And then, of course, your Wickman tools would be in your toolbox as well. But remember, you don't take those out right away. 1, 2, 3, 4, sharp angle question, right? If you knew, would you? You can't go, well, if I could show you something, would you? Because then they'll know, oh, you're going to try and talk me into something. So it's more like, if you knew that the best time to list your property was before the spring market, is there any reason you'd have to wait until the spring market actually hit? So, not really. We're kind of busy with hockey or whatever. Okay, well, if you're like my family, after hockey comes what? Soccer, and then comes baseball or what, right? So does it ever really let up? Oh, what sport does he play? Oh my gosh. All right, you with me? So in other words, then you could list sooner. I think get them to say that. Steve Meeker is hanging out and putting in chat, I remember you. God, I'll always love you, Steve. Oh my gosh, Northern Indiana. All right, so here we go. I want to remind you of 2 tools today, but I also want to just mention a couple other things. Are you bringing with you your current stats? Bring your DOM. If you have a system called InfoSparks, I'm going to spell that INFOSPARKS, InfoSparks. If you've got that in your board of realtors, your association, your MLS, whatever, they have all kinds of charts and graphs in there. In fact, you might consider calling if you don't know of it. It might be there and you don't know it. You might be there and it's called something different. So call your MLS and find out if you've got that. There are 12 or 16 graphs that are up to the minute that you can sculpt based on price, list price, based on area. You can take a look at the whole market compared to 600 to 800,000, compared to properties in this zip code, compared to, it's an incredible tool. And those 12 or 16 charts are average DOM. And it shows, for example, from today going back 6 months, and then another 6 months, and then another 6 months, and another 6 months, going back literally years. It shows you what has happened to rates. And you can move your cursor along the line, and it would tell you what they were in the month of January, in the month of March, in the month of August. It's pretty amazing. So bring DOM, because what you might end up showing them is our days on market is getting longer and longer. And our days on market aren't even truth, because of course we know they don't count people that had their home on the market themselves before they listed with a realtor. And they don't include processing time, which takes even longer. So look what has happened. We were in a market where DOM was blank, 20 days. And now we're in a market where DOM is blank. Let's say it's longer. What's the trend? What's next? Floyd taught us to look for trends. You spot trends by looking back, then looking current, and then projecting what's going to happen in the future. So DOM is great. Percentage of list price to sale price is great. You know, there was a time not all that long ago when sellers got multiple offers in every price point, where they received something like 104% of list price on average. Well, that may or may not be what's going on in your marketplace. So take a look. It might be different in different price points. So take a look. So get your stats together so that you have them with you on every appointment. It's just so important to know exactly what's going on. And don't forget about seasonality. You know, in Florida and in other resort type communities, seasonality, Carolinas, you know, where do people go to escape winter? Ask the Minnesotan where we go to escape winter. There is a huge rush and during season in Florida, in the Carolinas, in Arizona. And what happens during that rush? There are more buyers' eyes on property. There is more competition for the listings that exist. So you want to wait until after season. You want to wait and put it on next season. What will happen? So there's all kinds of ways to position that. What about weather? You know, in North Dakota, February is the start of spring, even if there's 4 feet of snow in the driveway. So what you know about season, what happens in North Dakota in July? It's probably the slowest month of the entire year. Why? Because everybody in North Dakota is going, it's going to freeze by the end of August. Slight exaggeration. But you know what my point is? Every area, every locale has its own kind of season. Find out what yours are and explain to a seller how they want to get ahead of it, get behind it, don't want to miss the middle of it. Are you getting this? All right. So wanted to mention that. Let's see if I missed anything else. I don't think I did. All right. So I just want to then remind you, sometimes they want to fix it up. It's very difficult to put $1 in and get $1 back out. You know that if you've bought rental property, or if you've tried to flip something, it's extremely difficult. You put money in, you don't find a chart that says that. I think there's all kinds of charts online, AI that could tell you that. You spend $60,000 remodeling the kitchen, and at your price point, you get $30,000 back out. You know, it's not dollar for dollar. So show them that. We want to fix it up first. You know, a great line for that. Thank you, Floyd. If we could get you full price without having to do the repair, would you consider it? Well, how are you going to do that? Go ahead, ask me. No, I'll ask you. Did they answer the question? No, they did not answer the question. And when I ask a question, I get an answer, right? Because I'm a wiki. So let me ask you again. If we could figure out how we could get a buyer to make an offer for you at full value without you having to do all the paint and carpet, would you be willing to take the offer? What are they going to say? Let's hear you. Yes. Okay. Well, you can't. What do you mean I can't? Well, you can't because it's not on the market. So here's what I recommend. Why don't we go ahead and put it on the market at full value? You go ahead and paint, carpet, get the house ready, And if someone in the meantime comes along and says, hey, I want to do the painting, I want to choose my own colors. Oh, I don't want carpet, I want laminate flooring. Oh, I don't want laminate, I want tile. So then they can have that. There's still time to negotiate that. And if not, well, then it'll be all done and ready at full value right on time. What do you say? Let's get the ball rolling. I'd hate for you to miss a buyer right now because you're messing around painting something they're going to come and repaint, right? Okay, let's try. Always resume. Assume that what you said worked. Okay? So that's a great one. I'll just say that real quick again. If you could get full price for your property without doing that work, would you even consider it? Well, yeah. Okay, well, you can't. What do you mean I can't? What do you mean? Well, you can't because it's not on the market. So here's what I would propose we do. Why don't we go ahead and list it at full value? You go ahead and get all the painting and flooring kind of lined up and ready to go. And maybe we won't even have to put it in before we have an offer. What do you say? Okay, wanted to make sure you had that. And then I got the 2 hot buttons from Floyd that I wanted to remind you of. The first one is the timing analysis. The timing analysis helps people act now. We want to wait. Well, what if you knew that waiting would hurt you? That you'd be past your schedule, that it would take too long if you waited? Would you go ahead and list now? You said you wanted to be out of here by such and such a date. What if you knew you wouldn't make that date if you wait? Would you still wait? Or would you say, show me how to make the date? That's what I thought. And then we have a tool called timing analysis. Now, if you're interested in receiving one of those by email, send me an email, Mary@floydwickman.com, and I will send you the timing analysis. And what it is basically is a list of how long it takes to sell. So line number 1 just says, what's the DOM? What's the days on market for this property at this price point right now? And just for the heck of it, let's say it's 60 days. Okay, so we put in 60 in the first column. And in the second column, we estimate 60 days from now would be what calendar date? And we write that out. What I have found is writing out dates is emotional. Every single month of the year has an emotion, right? Like February, brr, or too hot if you're in Florida, I don't know. Like August, oh, school's out. Like October, leaves fall if you're upper part of the country or the North American continent. So there's an emotional attachment to each month. So write out the month. All right, now we said DOM, days on market for your price point. Number 2, line 2 is add half again as much. And we do that, as I mentioned earlier, for all the people that had their house on the market with another company and it didn't sell, all the people that tried to sell it on their own, all the people that had it on the market had it on the market with someone else and it didn't sell, for sale by owners, canceled, withdrawns, so we add half again as much, not because there's half of the people that fall into that category, but that we need to add another X number of days because the first number wasn't right. Okay. Then number 3, we add processing time. How long does it take to process? Once we get the buyer in the door, that's not when you close. How long does it take to close? And don't you dare tell me 30 days, because almost always it's a little more than that. The appraisers are running slow, or title work is backed up, or the 30 days is the end of the month, and you know how hard it is to get everything. So you got to plan 45, plan 60, plan it out there a little bit, and then put the date. And then anything that you want to do with possession. In some areas, possession is after closing. So you might add a couple of days or a week after closing if you're from Michigan, if you're from some parts of Canada, etc. And now you total all those together. It's X number of days, and you move here, and there's that emotional date that you have written out December. What does that mean for people? Hanukkah, Christmas, it means snow, it means holiday, right? So, my point being, you're saying to them, if you wait, it's going to even be further than this. How long are you going to wait beyond this? That's the timing analysis. And sometimes when you show that to someone, they will list now. Then if that doesn't work, you still have another tool. So you would go back to step 1, don't argue, then probe, and then is there anything else? And then your sharp angle. If you knew it would cost you money to wait, would you act now? And that is the financial risk analysis. So you're going to take that baby out. Now that I can send you to, make sure you ask for it. It's a list of the reasons that you might be burned if you wait. And I put them in the same order as the sheet that I'm going to give you. It starts with rates might go up. Now they might not, but they might. And if they go up, how much will that cost you? How much are you going to spend on the next house? Let's say they do go up. Someone pretty smart said something about 3 weeks ago, and it was referencing a 7%, or maybe it was 3 months ago, referencing a 7% interest rate. And they said, if in 1975 you had said, I'm going to wait till the rates go back down to 7%, you would have waited until prices had quadrupled. So, wow, we saved because we waited for a lower rate. But what happened to prices in the meantime? I love that. If you can find that online somewhere, print that out, laminate it. It's great right now, might not be later. Always keep your stories, keep your news articles current. So rates might go up. Now they might not, but they might. And if they do, how much would that cost you? Calculate that. And then trial close. Look, I got a bunch more on this list. Do I really even need to do this? Look at how much money we're losing right now by waiting if the rates go up. Wow, but the rates could go down too. Okay, well then let's go to number 2. And number 2 is new home prices might go up. Well, we know they're going to go up. They continually go up, right? Cost of goods goes up. Cost of providing insurance to our workers goes up. Cost of materials, gasoline to truck the materials there. And by the way, when new construction prices go up, do people go up incrementally or do they raise them one big fell swoop? The latter. Number 3, your home might be worth less. Now, we're not blockbusting. What we're talking about is, what if something happens in your neighborhood, like the house next door sells? You decide to wait. The house next door sells, and the new people paint it hot pink. Will that affect your value? The new people have ponies and chickens in the backyard. The new people have 3 large mastiffs. How will that affect your value? And then number 4, speculation time. As long as you're not in a hurry, what if we could speculate? What if we could try a little higher and see if we could put that money in your pocket? Are you with me? And I recommend subtotaling after step 4 too. We subtotaled after step 1 and trial closed. Now we come to step 4, we say trial close. And I've got a few more too. And so I think I should send you that form if you want it. Put it on your company letterhead, make a few copies, throw them in a folder, bring it with you on your appointments. I started this webinar by saying, my number 1 goal is that you get more listings. One way to get more listings is to be able to not leave the appointment without it. It'll help you get more listings. And to do it on the first visit instead of the 4th visit or the 6th visit, like some of us do, right? So just decide it's good for them. It's good for you. It will help everybody. And go serve and love on your clients. And I hope you can tell that I am serving and loving on you, because I do feel this is my purpose, to help you, to be for you who Floyd Wickman was for me. And as I mentioned, It's a privilege to carry on his legacy. Michael will be back with us on the next installment, so don't miss number 6. We'll see you there. Thank you for coming today. God bless you.